Whose fault? This is my story. I'll try to keep it as short as possible. My wife, 28, and I, 38, have been together for 7 years, and we got married on the 3rd of Jan 2015. She was and still is the only woman I want in the world. Things were great. We had the typical arguments, but nothing was so bad that we didn't love each other and told each other almost every day, either by saying it or in a text message. We bought our first home in Feb 2016, a 4-bedroom house to start a family. I have 2 kids already from another relationship, and during the time we bought our house things were tricky there, as their mom had met a new guy who stayed 300 miles away and wanted to relocate, and I was fighting a court battle for them to remain closer because my kids didn't want to be that far from family and their dad. I need to touch on the relationship between my kids and my wife. She never really took a lot to do with my kids in the whole 7 years. She was never bad to them. Once when she was drunk, she shouted at one of them because my daughter was watching TV and my wife wanted peace. But she never totally got involved with them. I do know her father from the start had a problem with me having kids, and he made a point of telling her how difficult it might be for her, but she didn't really listen to him. During the court battle, my wife didn't contribute any money or really any support at the time. Anyway, during the court action things were tough money-wise. Me paying lawyers and us buying a house made money tight, but we still had enough. Her job was very steady and a good pay. I am a self-employed musician and I make a good wage, but it can be inconsistent. The court battle started to mellow out around the March. 4 months later, in July 2016, her father passed while hill walking. He fell off a cliff. It was devastating for everyone. My wife really took a low. The doctor started to give her meds to cope. During that time, I tried to be there and offer support. The way I remember it was I tried to talk to her, be there, listen, but it always ended up me doing something wrong or saying something that would end up with her flying off the handle at me and me being the bad one. A lot of this I just took as I put it down to grief. There were a few times I was punched or thumped on the chest in anger, but I took it and didn't react. I found out the night before our wedding her dad and her went out for dinner. During dinner she asked him to contribute to the service. In the service it said, tradition in a wedding is a father handing over a daughter, but nowadays thing is not like that. Her dad's name, do you accept? My wife's name, choice of husband. All he had to say in the script was, yes, I do. Well, I found out the night before he refused to contribute and say that. What a guy. So, our marriage was difficult after her dad's passing. Intimacy was gone, not by me. I always wanted to be close with her. Bedtime was very low. Not by me. I always wanted her. All these things I could understand due to the circumstances. My wife could see things were difficult, so she asked me to step back so she could deal with her grief so we could avoid conflict. I agreed reluctantly because I wanted to help, but I did so. I always was around, offering her tea as she worked, tried to talk to her and keep close, but she wasn't really interested. She decided about 6 weeks after her dad's death she wanted a baby. I tried to get her to slow down since it was so close to her dad's passing. She stopped taking her pill. I knew this, and one time we were having fun. I stopped and she said to me, "For God's sakes, OP, man up." God, I was so close to X her in the teeth after that. But of course, I didn't. I am not a violent person, especially to women. In November, one of her friends was asking how she was getting on. I explained things were difficult at the moment. The next thing I knew, the following week, her friend told my wife I was thinking about divorcing her. I said no such thing. My wife called me in a panic asking if that's what I was going to do. I told her no, I loved her and I never said anything like that. She sent me a text saying, "OP, I love you and need you. Tell me what I have to do to make you love me again." I told her I do love you. Tried to make her secure. So, we get through Christmas and we went to Egypt on our anniversary. We spoke about having kids again and I said yes, I wanted that, but we should hold off until things were steady. She didn't like this. Anyway, that was January. March, we spoke about going to Cuba on 2018 anniversary. On the 17th of April my wife wrote this. Well, an awful lot has happened since then. I don't even know where to start. So, I'll start now. Despite things on the surface being better with me, I've realized over the past few weeks that this isn't really a marriage. It's more like flatmates. We don't share a bed. We don't spend time together. We don't do anything. Our lives are separate. We don't have mutual friends. We don't sleep together. We don't share anything. We have nothing in common. I don't know what to do. This can't be the rest of our lives. I don't think he can be happy either. But how can I bring it up? He will, 1. Get defensive, attack and blame me. 2. Accuse me of cheating. 3. Refuse to accept it. It's not fair. I think we both deserve to be happier. But I don't know how to fix things. Options. 1. Ignore it. 2. Suggest counseling. 3. Suggest separation. We sat down to talk about our marriage problems. Problems I knew were there, but I had to wait for her to want to talk about them. All of the things on that list I tried to talk to her about as they happened. Over 2 years I tried to talk about stuff. She would just not want to. We sat down to talk about stuff. She got drunk and suggested I might be happier with someone else. I told her no. It's her I loved and I wanted things to be better than the last year, which through unfortunate circumstances have affected our lives. Anyway, she got drunk and nothing got sorted. Here is a list of events that happened over the next few months. April 14th, my wife goes on a bachelor party. 17th, she writes the above list in her journal. 20th, I am told the list. 27th, we agree to talk and we both really want to try and fix things. 28th, we sit down to talk. Lorna gets drunk. 28th, she mentions seriously divorce. June 5th, she says it's over, can't try anymore or see a way to fix things. 9th, she heads off to Rock Ness and meet that night's guy. 12th, I ask her to tell me if this is another guy. She says no. 17th, find out about the guy she met on that night in Rock Ness. Since then, I've been told all the classic lines. I love you but I'm not in love with you. All the blame has been put on me, but not at first. She was crying and said sorry for ruining our marriage. She's now rewriting history, saying it was never right from the start. Basically, she's really hitting me hard with classic infidelity quotes and blame. It's all my fault, of course, in her eyes. That was 4 months ago. I still love her. I keep making excuses for her. I try and understand her grief and how that could be causing this. I'm on the roller coaster. I'm really messed up with it all. You all seem pretty wise, so I'd like to hear your thoughts. She has no interest at all in reconciliation. She's happy now with her new guy, she tells me. She denies this is an affair and says nothing psychical happened until she said she wanted a separation. Now divorce? Of course, by nothing psychical happening she means on my birthday at the Rock Ness Music Festival 4 days after she said it's over, and she thinks that's okay. I think this is at the very least an emotional into a physical affair. Ever since meeting this guy she made a get-out plan. I'm so messed up right now. She hasn't been honest at all. Anything I know I've had to find out myself, then once she's been caught, she admits it. But it's not been the truth coming from her mouth. Her affair is one thing that can be dealt with. She doesn't want to stop it though. It's the lies, deception, the hurt she's causing me. The way she BS me now, the way she blames me. The rewriting of history. It's killing me inside. Right now, I'm so angry. Give me the 2x4 treatment if you think it's best. I don't think things were that bad in my marriage. In fact, I know we had a great life. It seems like the first hurdle we hit she jumped off the horse. I guess the advice I'm looking for is how to make reconciliation happen if it's possible. I'm 100% committed to my wedding vows and I'm not going to just throw it away. If there's a chance to fix this, that's the direction I want to go in. Comments. A couple of things you need to understand. This isn't your fault. Most of the negativity she is having over you is exaggerated because she is in an affair. She has to make you villain in a bad marriage in order to justify the affair in her head. Basically, rewriting your marital history, very common. Also, you are not going to be able to talk her into an R, so don't waste your time. She has to want it herself and there isn't anything you can say that will make a difference, and attempting to stop her from leaving at this point will fail. She expects you to resist and is ready for it. The only thing you can do is let her go, and if there's a chance to R, it will be because the F fails. They typically do. And she misses you. Push her out, and if she comes back then deal with then, but if she doesn't then there was no hope anyway. I know you will feel compelled to try to do something, but the more you do the more likely you will end up sabotaging yourself. You can't screw up if you don't do or say anything. TLDR, kick her out and go NC. She wants children. It seems that if you don't give them to her, she may take up someone else willing to show her love. Maybe that's just the symptom of deeper problems. Children should be a byproduct of love. It must be so confusing for you. Definitely not your fault if she's cheating. Basically, give her some tough love. Show indifference to what she does. Show that you have or are willing to move on without her. Showing that you do not need her and that you are not willing to tolerate her waywardness and disrespect as a wife. If you both decide to R, no more girls, boys' nights out. No more lunches with friends of the opposite gender. No sleepovers with friends. No private texting, no privacy. No secret emails. No fishy working overtime late night hours with coworkers. OP responds, she is now with him. She still makes out she didn't intend this to happen. Total rubbish. After the hen night, what did she expect to happen? Keeping in touch with him and so on. I don't think she knew him before that night. Basically, she let this develop and probably encouraged it. The worst part is her deception and lies. Acting like this is some big mistake. Total accident. I'm not stupid, I have a fair idea how this developed. In May we were still in a physical relationship. What I do know is meeting this other man seems to be what starts the ball rolling towards her opening up about problems. Like I've said, I wasn't ignorant to our problems and I had tried to communicate with her things I'd like to be different, but she wasn't too understanding about ways to fix them. Also, I didn't really pressure her because she was pretty messed up with her grief. Then she meets this other man while out drinking and she then starts to list these problems as reasons to end our marriage. She even included my smoking and her drinking as reasons to end the marriage. I mean, come on, excuses and justifications for screwing around and wanting someone else. That's what the list of problems were. There was nothing on that list that love, attention, and communication couldn't sort out. Add to the list the classic lines I've been told of. I love you but not in love with you. We have different life goals. Or it's not you, it's me. And it all screams bullcrap to me. Excuse after excuse. Or justification to relieve guilt and rationalization to accept her giving up. That's all it seems to me, not one bit of genuine truth anywhere. The messed up part though is I still care, miss her, want to fix things and love her. It's amazing just how mental that sounds when I'm being treated so badly. A day or two later, it's time to begin moving on. And I don't mean moving on with the idea me changing with make her interested again in me, but I do realize that could be a consequence of me moving on. When I say moving on, I'd like it to be moving on with a positive outcome for everyone. Maybe even one day a place where myself and wife could at least enjoy being friends without any feelings about this last hellish 5 months. Maybe that's a big ask with not much chance of success, but it's a good idea. What I do know is my wife at one time completely fell head over heels in love with me. To quote her, she had never met anyone like me ever before and I was phenomenal. I loved my wife unconditionally. I know this. I accepted my wife for all her good and bad. I didn't judge her or try to make her someone she wasn't. Yes, maybe I was too soft on her, and I'm sure some will say, you stopped being a man, but I don't believe that either. Circumstances beyond our control began the rocky path that led us down to the end of this road. But like everyone has acknowledged, there were choices made by her that she could have done different. There's no forgetting that for me. There is a possibility of forgiveness, but I don't think I'll forget. Such is life. Better to have loved and lost. All that stuff, but it's time for me to stop suffering. Comments. That's why you've got to let her go until she's done having her meltdown. Don't be her support, her anchor, her backup plan. Just be you for a while. Leave her on her own where she will miss you. When she comes back around, you can decide if you want to give her another chance. All those bizarre excuses she gave, that's exactly what they are. She's going through stuff she's not mature enough to deal with, so she is escaping her grief and stress and worry and reality by way of this affair fog. It will lift. Just don't enable it. Then, she will be forced to confront that this behavior is not reality, is not conducive to the life she might actually want for herself, and is not a good idea. And then, maybe she will also face why she has taken you for granted and hurt you like this, which is the only way she will consider change. You know you're worth more. Just because she can't see it because her vision is clouded doesn't mean you're not a great partner. It's not your fault she's being a fool. OP responds, we've been through nothing like this before as a couple. We've been together 7 years, married 2.5. Any other problems were my not getting enough bedtime and wanting more. Of course, after her dad passing, the physical part stopped, but that's one of the reasons she listed for wanting to separate, which I found really unfair because I always wanted sex with her. It was her who was tired of too busy. I suggested counseling. She totally refused, saying she couldn't try anymore. Of course, this before I found out about the other man. She is totally committed to this separation. She now claims she's happy now. Of course, her first reason she's added on top of it more and more to rationalize her wanting to divorce, as I said, rewriting the marriage history as far as I can tell. I've already exposed the affair to family and friends and none approve. My wife does try and tell a story of a mutual separation, but am not slow in telling people the truth. As far as money, she's more financially independent than me, inheriting somewhere around $200K, maybe more, from her father's estate. It was a pretty bitter pill to swallow being told lack of physical part was an issue when I always showed her I wanted her. Tried to keep an intimate life going. My friends have been great, even her friends and family have been great with me. One of her closest friends said to me, OP, why do you bother keeping trying after the way she's treated you? That was her best friend quoting that. Health-wise and great. Perfect weight for my height, give or take a few pounds. Nice, toned body I'm getting from exercise. I'm thinking about taking up archery and shooting again. I was a deadly shot, maybe not a great idea with all this anger and resentment. Just kidding. Basically, trying to look after me. My wife is getting a new job, selling the house and going back to the city to live rather than stay in the countryside, and is divorcing me. That's her way of getting on. I'm looking to buy a nice flat in Glasgow and getting back seriously into composition also. I've had some music used on TV shows. I'm going to finish writing my opera also. Being honest with myself. I am a good guy with so much going for me. I'm talented, good looking, funny, interesting, definitely not boring. I'm going to be alright once I weather this storm. A week later, in a bit of an angry mood today, found out my wife's new man is basically living in our marital home, and he's been at several weddings my wife and I were meant to attend together. All in all, I feel pretty angry and stupid. We do own the house jointly, but in all honesty, I think moving on is the best option. I told her today on the phone, "You've had choice after choice and always made the wrong one." She responded with, "No OP, I've made the right one now I've got rid of you." What a complete cow. In her defense, can't believe I said that. She was annoyed because I found out, or should I say caught her. It's ripping me apart, all this. Do you want to laugh? The reason I know this today is because she's away to London on business and I'm looking after the dogs overnight. Of course, he's not here, but some of his stuff is, and they were so nice to leave stained bed sheets for me. I need to find on my body the doormat tattoo. I know it's somewhere. I don't pay the bills anymore. She pays all bills and mortgage payments, but I am still on the mortgage because it works out better for both of us for my name to be there. On the plus side though, she needs my signature to sell it. I can't find remorse in her. Been really trying to though. Trying to give her some credit for a soul on conscience. There have been a few tearful moments by her, but mostly after she's been caught. I read into that as some kind of sorry or remorseful action, but thinking about it, no, all she would do is cry and admit the basics I'd already found out. No elaboration on the facts even when I asked her to just give me a between the eyes and one big hit and get it over and done with, but no, lies. Bullcrap, and the truth trickling out over time as she gets careless. Heartbreaking. Her latest quote today was, "There was no affair." This was her text tonight to me when I explained my dissatisfaction at him staying over some evenings in our house and also his intrusion into our marriage. Just remember the weekend she first met him. I am getting told I love you and right throughout April and May. Quote, "I can't keep having the same conversation with you. Every time I do something you don't like, we seem to have to go right back to the start. There was no affair. Nothing intruded on our marriage. Our marriage didn't work. All this has caused both of us pain. Going over the same conversation again and again doesn't help though. I think she honestly believes this. It's not that I care about her. It's more shock and astonishment at this person and the way she acts towards me, who was only 4 months ago my wife, who was telling me she loved me and wanted me and was in a sexual relationship with me. It's more disbelief. No point in asking her about April, May. I'm sure it would only be bullcrap I get hit with. My kids stay with their mom. I used to have them stay over at mine once, twice a week normally, or more during the holidays. At the moment, since I don't really have a house, I've been staying over at their mom's while she goes out and stays at her new man's house. Remember, the kids are not the kids from my marriage but from my first long-term relationship. 2 weeks later, it's like my wife wants me to move on, so she says. I've not told her yet I've met someone. They want you to be nice to them, understand their pain, be happy for them, and just accept their behavior. Now honestly, I think I could just accept it, but as soon as I start to trust her again that okay, here's where we are and it's time to make the best of it, my wife immediately goes and acts a real bee, parading her new man around my house, having fun in my bed and playing with our dogs and sitting eating omelets, cook on our wedding gifts and eating off our engagement plates. Maybe it's just me and I'm being silly and placing value on objects, but to me it's an insult. It's time to put all respect and anything I have for her away and look after number one. I don't want nothing to do with that house. She can keep it. She's not going to sell it quick. Once I get my own place and my feet on the ground, I'm sure I'll feel better. I'll tell you why me and my ex have such a good relationship. When me and my ex split up, I was honest with her about it. Didn't mess her around. And we parted with no animosity or any one of us pissing the other off, with throwing new partners in each other's faces. Me and the kids' mom gets on great. She's even said to me, OP, the one thing I'll say about you is you were always honest and upfront with me. Also, she's told me she went through a lot of guys to find someone as good as me in bed. She's still not found one, so my ex-wife is going to get a shock when she realizes what she's messed up. That's my ex's opinion, not mine. Oh yay, I am working. She really wants to sell this house and relocate closer to her new job. I've had money from her already for my share of the house, but my name is still on the mortgage. That money I was given doesn't have a note on it saying what it's for. The next money I need to sort out is furniture, pension, and whatever other asset there is. I'm playing a slow game as far as money. I have a place rented just now, but I want to buy my own place again and her settled sometime later. Strange things are happening in my situation. I had to see my wife about money and the dogs. I went in. I've been working out and eating well and looking pretty good, if I say so myself. Anyway, she mentioned how good looking the clothes I had on were. I could tell she was finding me hot. Now since then she's asked for me not to come to the house anymore and we can talk by phone. My thinking is she's looking at me and getting attraction feelings, so she wants to stop them happening. If only she'd done the same concerning the other and not let it escalate into the affair. She's in. Duck her, I say. Kind of insulting in a way, but the new guy does have a freshness that she wants to respect. Not like the commitment she made with me through marriage, but it just confirms how shallow and pathetic and selfish she is. I am doing all right. Almost got myself my new house. That's my main focus at the moment. Get my own place that's new where I can build from. I know deep inside now I can never forget what she's done, so why waste any more time trying to save something that won't work? Too much water under the bridge now. It's sad because I know how good a husband I was at times. I'm not arrogant enough to claim always. I know she will realize it one day, but I've tried. I mean really tried. No one can take away from me my efforts to save my marriage. Even though I've shouted at her because of all this, said some things that I'm not proud of. I know she can honestly deep down inside say I didn't give my all and stuck to my vows to never give in. I'm proud of that. So, everyone who reads this, I want fingers and toes and anything else crossed and give me good vibes about getting my new house. A month later, the update. I'm a lot better. Let go of a lot of my anger and I'm just accepting things as they are. I don't have to approve, but I don't have to let it bother me. My buying a house situation is in the waiting process for a mortgage to be approved, but it's looking okay so far, but not for certain. Money between my STBXW and I are almost sorted. What can I really say? I've came to terms with it. My wife's stupid, selfish, and is going to realize one day she's a real BM looking after me now and not letting what my wife's doing affect my happiness. She has also dumped our dog back to the breeder, as she can't look after him anymore. I see that coming. The dog was one more thing in the way of my STBXW life now. So like me, the dog is dispensable. Just another example of her stuffed attitudes. It's all about me. Just so you know, I have the other dog we had. She's with me. Don't know how it happened, my better attitude towards all of this. Just one day noticed it wasn't the obsession of my life anymore. Still have some bad days, but it's getting better. Another month later, I really didn't expect some sort of acknowledgement yesterday from her about it being our anniversary, but on the other hand, maybe I'd hoped she would have at least recognized it. I'm sure she did, but kept it silent. Then the photo of her hugging her girlfriend, looking at smug and pleased at herself, kind of got to me. Maybe resentment at the idea she's all happy. I really don't know how she could be though. I've accepted there's nothing more I could do to change her mind, but it still gets to me how I've been rejected and thrown away. I'm still in the limbo of separation. The divorce isn't final yet, but only because Scottish law says we have to be separated for a year before divorce can be requested. I have a real hate for her. I think what annoys me also is the grief I had got from her and some of her friends because I raised my voice and had a few shouting matches with her as I was learning and finding out more and more about her and the other man, and she lies on top of more lies. I mean, of course I was going to shout, but they think I should have been gracious about it and just moved on. The whole thing gets to me still some days. It cuts right down deep into me. I put a brave face on and just get on with it, but this whole thing really has got to my very soul and being. My house is in the hands of the lender's approval. Been really busy with my work. The last few days I've had time to sit and relax a bit. I know I'm doing as best I can to sort myself out, preparing for my future and getting a lovely home of my own. It's just a pretty crappy situation to be in. Honestly, I'm so much stronger and better than I was 2 months ago. I don't feel so helpless, but I do now have a lot of anger towards my STXW and the situation. I still think she's behaving like a complete B, and in all honesty, she is a complete B. Someone said this and it really hits home for me. My feelings about my wife's behavior since I found out about the other man is like Watergate. It's not the act that bothered people, it was the cover-up. It will always be for me the person she became, a pure outright liar. That's what's really heartbreaking. I've stopped making excuses for her being a cheating woman. I have the ability to stop myself from laying every woman who comes onto me when I'm out working as a professional musician. And trust me, in my job it's offered on a plate. No strings attached is always on offer from me. I was able to stay faithful, even when she went cold and pushed me away for months and months and gave me nothing. I stayed only faithful to her. I'm a good-looking guy, and it wasn't bad-looking women who expressed their interest in me. And mostly they were women in other parts of the UK where my wife would have never found out or known about. Don't get me wrong, the idea crossed my mind, but I realized very quickly what I was wanting wasn't a fun time. What I was looking for and needed was to be close with my wife, not just something easy. I'm very proud of myself. I didn't just jump into bed with randoms and remained faithful. Anyway, all in the past now. Duck her. She had her chance. I just can't stand the sight of her now. If I see her, I'll be very tempted to smack her in the teeth. I won't though. Got my mortgage sorted. Moving into my new flat next month. Almost a year later, the outcome. I am now divorced. I have my own house and life and a new partner. I will be completely honest with you, I still have a lot of anger towards my ex. And that comes from how she handled her adultery. She has still never owned it. Not a sorry or even a drunken apology when she's alone at 2 in the morning. But that lets me gain a sort of strength or gives me my own closure. That was the hardest bit when you're dealing with someone as selfish as a cheating partner who is constantly trying to pull the wool over your eyes to protect themselves, is it gives you no closure. But like someone on here said, closure is like vomit. It comes from within. It's a tough ride divorce when there is no honesty. The main difference in me today is now there is no way on earth I would reconcile my marriage. It is now over. For me, the ball is now in my court when it comes to that. Yes, I still think about her, but that's normal. No different to my memories of my childhood, which also played a massive part in my life. I hope one day my hatred towards her. I have some days still, but very rarely. Will go also. My comment. You're going to be fine eventually, even though you might not think so, or if you're like me, want to keep yourself in the whirlwind of emotions because it gives you a sense of still being involved with your ex. Start from today doing what you want to do. Do not bow down to any request your ex asks. You're now looking after you, and if you have kids, your relationship with them. So go after the maximum you are entitled to from the divorce when it comes to money, property, and everything else. Your ex's friends are no longer your friends. They will turn on you eventually. Your ex now sees you as worthless and the enemy, and your ex's friends and family will be confirming this to your ex. Stand up and fight for what you built up with your ex. Get exactly what you're entitled to, nothing less. My best wishes to you, OP. So, there you have it, guys. Sometimes you just need friends and people around you to get through the hard times. So, if you have a hard time right now, don't forget there are people there beside you. It's going to be alright. Hope you guys like this story, because I did. Smash that sub and bell button and I will see you in the next one.